Hi, I'm Andrea and I'm a naturalist and educator at Severson Nature Center. In this video, we're going to be learning about bumblebees, specifically bumblebees that can be found in Winnebago County. I'll be covering these bees in alphabetical order by their scientific name. If you're unfamiliar with scientific names, these are the official Latin names of each of these bee species. Each scientific name has two parts, the genus or the group name and the specific species name. All of these bumblebees are in the genus Bombus, so we'll be going through them alphabetically by their specific scientific species name. That said, let's begin. The first bee alphabetically also happens to be my favorite bumblebee, and that is Bombus affinis, or affinis, depending on how you want to say it. This is also known as the rusty-patched bumblebee, and I hope you've heard of these bees before. Unfortunately, these bees are famous because they're critically endangered, and they were the first insect to ever be put on the endangered species list. It's noted by several organizations to be increasingly rare, vulnerable, threatened, or endangered. These are all subjective terms that organizations give a species, but regardless, it's clear that rusty-patched bumblebees are not facing a very bright time right now. Thankfully, we do have some pretty decently sized, relatively speaking, populations in Winnebago, Boone, Stevenson, and the surrounding counties. Through efforts of the forest preserves of Winnebago County and other wonderful organizations, we're working to restore the habitat of these bees. As far as we know, with the research that we have, we suspect that rusty-patched bumblebees thrive in prairies and savannas. So Forest Preserves of Winnebago County are working on several of their properties to convert woods and forests into savannas to establish rusty-patched bumblebee habitat. This bee was discovered in Winnebago County by a citizen scientist, and if you'd like to learn more, please visit our website at seversondells.com so you too could help us learn more about these wonderful bees. The next bumblebee is Bombus auricomus. It's also known as the black and gold bumblebee. These bumblebees are rather large, and they're big and loud. They kind of remind me of little bumbling helicopters. They're pretty easy to spot, and I see a lot of them in August, so you'll have to keep your eyes open. The next bee is Bombus bimaculatus. It's also known as the two-spotted bumblebee because of two distinct spots on the second segment of their abdomen. These bees are pretty common and they have a fairly stable population. With that said, it's still important to protect their habitat. The next bee is Bombus citrinus, also known as the Lemon Cuckoo bumblebee. Now it's kind of a silly name, cuckoo, and it actually comes from a type of bird, a cuckoo bird, that is considered a parasite. They're parasites because they rely on other living things to complete their life cycle. These bees, like cuckoo birds, use the nest of other animals to help their young survive. A cuckoo bee will come in and kill the queen of a colony, lay their eggs, expect the workers of that colony to raise their young, as their young eat the larvae of that colony, and ultimately bring that colony to its entire collapse. It's kind of vicious, but it's entirely natural and part of their life cycle. These bees have a pretty stable population, and they're fairly common as far as bumblebees go. The next bee is Bombus fervidus, also known as the golden northern bumblebee. Unfortunately, these are more rare. The IUCN rates them as vulnerable, and some organizations consider them endangered. They have a horizontal patch across their thorax, and that's one way to tell them apart from other bees that look fairly similar to them. The next bee is Bombus fraternus. It's also known as the Southern Plains bumblebee. This bee is considered vulnerable to endangered depending on the organization that you're looking at. The next bee is Bombus griseocollis or griseocollis, depending on how you want to pronounce it. It's also known as the brown belted bumblebee, and that's because the first segment of its abdomen is yellow, and the second is brown, and the rest are black. This bee is sometimes confused with Bombus affinis, or the rusty-patched bumblebee, but one good way to tell them apart is on Bombus affinis, the brown section of their abdomen never touches black. It's completely surrounded by yellow. And Bombus griseocollis, that brown belt will touch both the yellow segment of their abdomen and the black segment of their abdomen. These bees are fairly common. I would say they're probably the third most common bee in Winnebago County, and they have a stable population. This bee is probably the most common bee in Winnebago County, and that is Bombus impatiens, also known as the common eastern bumblebee. This is a pretty stable population, and they're doing fairly well. The best way to identify them is to look for that thin, narrow oval on the back of their thorax and the single yellow stripe at the top of their abdomen. Bombus pensylvanicus, also known as the American bumblebee, is unfortunately very rare in the state of Illinois. Our best research shows us that they're mostly extant or no longer present in the northern half of Illinois. Their numbers look pretty dismal across the nation too. One way to tell this bee apart from other bees is that their thorax is mostly black, whereas most other bumblebees have a thorax that's mostly yellow. Bombus vagans, also known as the half-black bumblebee, looks pretty similar to some other bumblebees in Winnebago County. It's important to note that it has a spot on the back of its thorax instead of a horizontal patch, which is one way to tell it apart from Bombus fraternus. It also has one more yellow stripe or abdominal segment than Bombus impatiens, so that's a way to tell it apart from the common eastern bumblebee. The final bee on our list, purely because of alphabetical order, is Bombus variabilis. This is also known as the variable lemon cuckoo bumblebee. Unlike Bombus citrinus, this is a parasitic bumblebee that relies on other colonies to raise its young. These bees are unfortunately very rare in the state of Illinois, and we suspect that they might be largely extant or removed from this state altogether. But there's still a chance we might find them here, and maybe you will be the citizen scientist to do that. Becoming a citizen scientist is very easy. Just attend a couple of trainings and get registered with the Forest Preserves of Winnebago County as a volunteer, and you too could be researching bumblebees and helping us gain more information about them. If you can take a picture, count the number of stripes a bee has, and if you can tell yellow apart from black and brown apart from yellow, you could easily be identifying bees, submitting photos to the University of Illinois, and contributing to their data. That'll help us learn so much more about these wonderful creatures and also help that protect them, because so many of them have rare, endangered, or possibly extinct populations in Illinois, and it's our turn to give back. I hope you'll check out our website at seversondells.com and learn how you can become a citizen scientist.